Well, it says we're live, but let me find out if we are. I have to go through my typical ramp up here, Jimmy, because we got to get. Oh yeah, look at that! It's up there fast, beautiful. People are gonna jump on. Oh, they're jumping on fast, Jimmy. Welcome to Revolution Network. This is Dr. Jason Dean, your source for health, freedom, and knowledge. And tonight's fun, even though I'm completely freaking exhausted from running around doing all that we do. This is fun because I have a very, very good friend on tonight who is going to help me blow this up. He really needs no introduction. But Jimmy Scaringi, buddy, how are you?
My brother, I'm fantastic, man. It's an awesome experience to get a chance to do this dance with you. You've made an amazing thing with Revolution Network. As I'm sure we'll tell these people, we go back a long ways. So to have watched all that you've put into making this be what it is, brother, it's an honor and a privilege to do this dance with you today on an amazing platform you've put together.
I appreciate it, and I watch you like you. The fire that you're gonna bring tonight, which I have no doubt it's in your eyes. I can see it already. First of all, before we jump in, show me your shirt.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Where we at, brother? Where we at? Where we at, buddy? Let's go.
I love it. And you're Italian, is that correct?
Yes, I am. Very much so.
So give everyone a background on you. Give some people some, because we're gonna dive into patriotism tonight. We're gonna dive into everything, probably from immigration to human immune system, because you're in natural health like I am, to vaccines, which I'm not sure if you have an opinion on vaccines, so I have to find.
No, none at all.
Give everyone some background on you. What do you do?
So in the summation version, in my 20s, I owned and operated a very large personal training business that, to make a long story short, left me feeling very empty personally, professionally, spiritually. I did things like fitness modeling, bodybuilding. I became quite a heavy user of anabolic steroids. So I really gave away a lot of my internal physical, mental, and spiritual health for superficial greatness. And it took until I was 27 years of age to kind of have that awakening and that epiphany that this was wrong on many levels, and none more wrong than the fact that I was misrepresenting health and wellness. Sure, I had good muscles and I was skinny and I was this and that, and but it was the misrepresentation of what health and wellness was. So by the time my conscience eroded me, ate it away, dead cold turkey, stopped taking steroids. 27 years of age, brother, I was going bald, I was losing my hair. I tell my female patients, as much as I am an alpha male, I promise you I understand your menstrual cycle or menopause without actually going through it, because from all of the hormonal damage that I did to my body, that was me. I was hot, cold, happy, sad. I gained a bunch of weight, couldn't lose it. And I went a whole year of my life with no sex drive. Well, the medical system's answer for me was to go back on testosterone. So after fighting for 7 years for my independence and freedom, that was their solution. Well, lo and behold, I found somebody that did the holistic work that we do, and it changed my life. It changed my life physically, mentally, spiritually, professionally. And once my health started to come back, my vigor was regained. I then went to school for it, became one of the top practitioners in the country. And now we own the largest holistic wellness center in all of Western New York, if not the entire state of New York. I own a 10,000 square foot facility right in my own hometown that encompasses chiropractic care, massage therapy, doulas, mental health counselors. We've got a gym. So we encompassed many like-minded modalities. We just expanded to our second location. For those that are watching that are local to the Western New York area, we just opened up in Clarence and Williamsville. So we are expanding rapidly. I employ almost 15 people, 14, 15 people. I have a nurse practitioner on staff that sees patients for me. I have a physician's assistant who sees patients on staff for me. A gentleman with a master's degree in exercise science. I found him in the medical community as well. And my new office is being ran by a woman who holds a degree as a physical therapist. So I am, quote unquote, the least formally educated person in my company, but I could talk shop with anybody, and I damn sure can produce results with the human body. So we walk this walk, we talk this talk, and just like you, our goal, our mission is to change the healthcare paradigm. It is to knock out the pharmaceutical industry. It is to remove the stranglehold that is drugs, surgeries, and medications. And we're doing everything that we physically and possibly can to change the next generation, which is the children. And part of why we want to talk about weak-minded adults today, because they're playing a paramount role on where our generations go from here with knowledge about the human body.
100% agree, dude. I love what I hear. You are one of the rare people that I know that can rattle off what you rattle off as articulate as you can, with so much fire and passion. You just it just comes from source for you. Like there is no there's just like, Jimmy, this is his intention. Get it done.
Nah, I got no notes. I don't ever take notes. I do a lot of things like you. I'll brainstorm ideas. Tomorrow I have my regular scheduled segment on a radio station up here, 99.5 WDCX. We're actually pre-recorded and we air on Saturday. And all those things that I do, it's just be genuine, be authentic, be organic, be well invested in the knowledge that you're going to speak on, but otherwise just let it rip from your heart. And sometimes it comes out good, sometimes it comes out bad, but it's always the truth.
Absolutely. So I'm going to dive into some stuff, and we're going to go different places tonight, and we have time, so I'm not worried about it. But I have a question, but I'll leave it till later. The first thing I want to dive into is we have been around each other for a long period of time, and we both have similar likes. We were just talking about some sports things. And when this all started, because we haven't seen each other since way before the whole pandemic, but as this thing started, the first thing I recognized was, oh crap, we have a lot of people out there who don't know what's going on. As we call them, sheep. You have lions, not sheep, hat on. And we are now being exposed to something that we all kind of knew was happening, but we didn't really know, which was we have developed a weak society. Like you and I'm assuming that you've had some family that possibly immigrated over to here. You're Italian.
Absolutely. Yep.
Just like my wife, her family immigrated over here. And if you go back to those records, those were not weak people.
No.
What is your take on what is happening today? What's been building in this country as it pertains to obviously health, but just in general?
It's, it's a crazy manifestation, and I can totally understand it because I'm in the trenches every day. My office last week seen 268 people, all without masks, by the way. But, so we're in the trenches, and you get a chance to hear the perspective of the parent who has this position put upon them, or this teacher that just wants to go to school and teach the kids, but has an administration or the government of the state putting this on them. So it's you can understand where it comes from, but systemically you see that people would rather turn away or essentially put their heads in the sand to not ruffle the feathers, to kind of go with the flow. So one of my sayings is only dead fish go with the flow. At some point you got to raise up and be willing to look at or say the uncomfortable things, because if we don't, the machine will steamroll you and make every decision and choice for you. And people like you and me, we've been screaming about this for decades. I think the platform that you bring it in, Jason, is very cutting edge, but the information that me, you share and other people share, like, we're not the pioneers of it. We're just the ones willing to take the bull by the horns and throw it out there to get it in people's faces. One of the first things that me and my wife encountered, because my wife's a physician's assistant, so we get into the vaccine talk, we'll talk more. But one of the things that me and her first talked about when we were dating was, hey, listen, I don't want to intimidate you. I'm not trying to be, too pushy, but you could feel something was there. And I said to her, if this should ever go anywhere, if this relationship should evolve to something, I need you to know now, under no circumstances will I now or ever vaccinate my children. So you need to know that about me if you're going to get involved with me. And she gave me the old typical, what are you, crazy? What do you know? I got two master's degrees. I'm a PA, right?
The Tara, that couldn't have been you, Tara.
She's definitely watching upstairs.
I know she is.
But part of why this woman is my wife, because she's everything that I'm speaking against or that I'm speaking for. She had a belief, she had a position of indoctrination, not education, indoctrination, that created her belief system. But by staying steadfast in my position, after a few months, she goes, man, you're really serious about this stuff, huh? You're really not ever going to vaccinate your kids. And I said, no. And then her morals, her ethics, her integrity, and her common sense kicked in. And she said, Jimmy, well, what do you know that I don't know? So I presented some information to her. She took the blinders off. She took her head out of the sand, challenged everything about her collegiate education and 2 master's degrees. And Jason, what happened with my wife is what I try to get for anybody that's eyes, ears, and hearts I can reach. She says to me, knowing what I know now, how could I ever vaccinate my children? That's a strong adult. That's somebody who went against the grain of her own profession, her own education, and said, wait a second, what do I know? What don't I know? And what opinion can I form with new knowledge? And that's what I think is so important for people to do what you do, what I do, even though it's not the popular position, even though the majority may be afraid to face it. You got to beat that drum. You got to get that information out there and let more people make decisions for themselves.
100%. Now you're in communist New York. I will. So wait, so tell me some of the crap you've gone through up there with all this.
So, I mean, right from the beginning, like you said, you know, we are in a, and I'm not a political person, but I got my Q gear on. I'm going to vote for the first time in my life this year. I've never voted before, but I will this year. So we live in that communist, strong, liberal, left-wing democratic state. But I tell you what, Jason, I think there's a big shift coming in this state. I think for as much as there is, the people that I've been listening to, they've got some opinions changing based off this. But from the get-go, brother, right? You've seen the immediate fear kick in. You've seen the immediate shutdown. Even me and you had a couple talks. I felt the negative vibration where I was like, bro, I got to talk to you. What's going on? But you watch the systemic fear get put in and the continued bombardment of fear on the TV and the radio. So you watched all of this shut down. Businesses shut down. Bars and gyms and barbershops and businesses and all these chiropractors and dentists, all these places shut down. And then, you know, the stores pretty much almost went bare. I think everybody thought we were coming into, you know, ground zero and the stores were bare. I went in to go pick up normal stuff and couldn't get my hands on, you know, just about anything. So you just watched really systemic fear. And then the worst part of the fear was they pushed it so comfortably that people were willing to make phone calls about others. They were willing to send pictures and photographs about people violating social distancing. I had multiple complaints put in on me because I never shut my office down. I'm never going to shut my office down. We could talk all about why that won't happen. And we damn sure have never put a mask on. So, you know, you had people calling. I had investigators show up at my office. And you just seen a lot of systemic fear. And then from there, it was, like I said, that continuation of people that were willing to go out and do the right thing and run their businesses and run their lives and take their children places. They were getting tattled on. And, you know, let me phrase that. Communist Cuomo put in, you know, a hotline that you could call and report on people. And it was just madness to me. Like, you're at the park with your kid and you're not supposed to be there because they shut it down, and someone's calling the cops on you to say, oh, so-and-so swinging their kid. Come on. So it's just been madness. And then, you know, you get into the stores and they want to argue with you and they want to yell at you. But I'll tell you, I haven't worn a mask once during all this. I've gone into as many stores as I wanted to because I've had that ability to walk with my head high, and upon confrontation, actually lay down the truth of what's really happening, get my stuff and get out of there. But unfortunately, the systemic nature of this state, a lot of people got put into submission based off of the TV and propaganda.
100%. Now, with that, you also stand up for yourself. So what did you hear from people? Were there people kind of secretly up there going, you know, thank you for being you. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for not wearing a mask. Like, what did you get out of that?
Without question. And you know, some people came into the office and obviously there was some concerns. And the nice thing was that in my office, in my space, people were like, well, Jimmy, why don't you have one on? And I said, because I refuse to be a part of the systemic failure that sends the wrong message, both by words and example. I will not in my office preach to the good of our God-given creation and our bodies and our immune systems, and then give you the idea that putting this muzzle on my face is how we stay safe. So I did. I had so many people just thank me for my willingness to stand out there and the disobedience of everything. And then the fun part for me was, you know, people would walk in with masks and they'd see me not having one on and they go, I don't have to wear this here, do I? And I go, no, you don't. So yeah, I've actually, you know, we've done close to 5,000 visits since March 1st. And out of those 5,000 visits, I would say 4,995 of them were Thank you. We're so glad we don't have to wear it here. We're so glad that you guys aren't wearing it here with maybe 4 to 5 people that have chose to wear them. And we've respected that. If that's really what you want to do, that tells me I'm still failing at educating you about the truth, but I'm meeting you where you're at and I'll respect you having it on. But for the most part, brother, we've been rocking and rolling. 2 of my staff were pregnant during this. 2 of my staff gave birth during this. Those mamas are warriors. They never put a mask on, and they gave birth to healthy babies during all of this. So we just really try to walk the walk, talk the talk, and lead by example.
Dude, I love something you just said in there, and I want you to expand on this, was when you did have someone come in with a mask on, you actually said, I failed. It's my responsibility. What have I not taught you? Like, expand on that.
It just, like, there's different versions of me. So obviously the professional version of me in the clinical room is a little different than the personality that I sometimes might be on Facebook or camera or then personally. But it broke my heart to know that whether it was in my office or on social media, I hadn't made a big enough impact to overshadow the propaganda that it was on television, that through walking the walk and talking the talk, that my walking, living proof of me, my staff, the pregnant women, all doing this without fear or worry, still couldn't penetrate the false data that was placed in their head. So it just, it hurt me. I support them and understand it, but it just hurt me to know that, man, for all that we do, we need to do more. And that also goes back to something that my wife's told me, Jimmy, it's not anymore, but back when I met her, all right, give it a rest with the vaccine posts and the GMO posts and the this. She goes, you're relentless. And I said something to her then that's so true right now with what you're bringing up to me. And I said, babe, the people that are trying to destroy this world, the people that are trying to overtake and control the minds and bodies of people, they don't take days off. And they've got so much money and a platform that they control the airways and the newspapers, and they control every bit of what somebody's thoughts made up are. So no, I have to be that beacon of light that will never stop beating the drum to this is the truth. And enough of us do that. We raise the vibration and we start gathering the attention of others to say, wow, this isn't so taboo. And this person isn't so conspiracy theorist. They're much more conspiracy realist. They start paying attention. So it just takes us continuing to beat the drum to erode the false data that the world has put into people's minds.
I before we came on tonight, you said I was the first person to introduce you to chemtrails.
You sure were.
Dude, what was that like for you? Because I didn't know that till you told me tonight. Like, I didn't realize that I dropped that bomb on you a long time ago.
Yeah.
What has it been like for you to like go through this evolution? Because obviously you've known for some time now. We've been good friends. We talk on the phone off and on all the time. But like, what has your evolution been through waking up that day one and researching to where you are now? Because dude, you are, and I tell people about this myself as well, that like, they're like, how can you do this show every night? How can you work? You're doing radio, you're doing your office. We kind of like parallel from a work ethic standpoint. You can't take time off. There is no time to take off. What was that evolution for you?
Well, we know that production is the basis of morale. So people like me and you that stay on the grind, and when you're on purpose, it doesn't feel like you're busy or that you're working. It's just something that you're passionate about. So it's easy to stay on the grind, and I can totally understand how you do it. But the truthful of it, Jason, really goes back to really what we do in the clinical room as nutritionists. I don't think that where I am today mentally would have ever taken place without changing what I was doing physically. Really, it was when I got onto the nutrition program and I started to detoxify the heavy metal toxicities and the chemicals in my body and started to clean up my system, that was when my mind started to work a lot better. When I got off of the fluoride, when I got off of the sugar, and I got off the things that we preach about, then it was like my thoughts, my reality, my nervous system became so much more intuitive to things. So maybe 15 years ago, somebody would have said chemtrails, and I would have been like, what's this conspiracy theorist talking about? But upon as my body got more cleansed, it taught me you don't know what you don't know. So when you hear things that challenge your mindset or the status quo, how about we research it and form an opinion for ourselves? So you're right. You were still in chiropractic school. It was the first time I met you. You came down to Clearwater. I was in class and you go, chemtrails. I go, what? So from there, it just became something I had to research. And then I was like, whoa, this dude knew something that I didn't know. And it just became the evolution of allowing my mind to experience things that I didn't otherwise know about.
Nice. What was your okay, we got to dive into this because we're gonna fire this up, and I'll dive into human immune system after that.
Oh yeah.
Vaccines, man.
Mm,
So,
mm.
and I'm gonna hit you right away.
Come on.
So, Jimmy is expecting his first child in January.
Yes, we are.
What flipped, man? What happened? Because this fires you up. What are you gonna do with a little girl, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
You're so screwed. What is this evolution of vaccines for you? Obviously weren't always even maybe in the know on this. Like something flipped in you, dude, because one day on camera you just exploded. And I've had to talk you back a few times. Like, God, dude, there's a game being played. I don't like the game, trust me. Like, I know you get fired up because Trump talks about the vaccine. You're like, why is he saying this? I'm like, it's optics. Like, hold on for a second. It's being done a certain way. What happened, man? What happened to you in this topic? Because you were having kids yet. It wasn't even. It wasn't even. You even had the right, and you had the right to not even take a side on it, but yet you did.
Yeah, we've been on this journey. We've been beating this drum for 10, 11 years. And it really started with my clinical education and how these bodies actually work. So when I was introduced to metal toxicity and was aware that, I had some in my body, well, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, where did I get metal toxicity? I'd never even heard of metal toxicity before. So then upon learning about my mercury amalgams and what those were doing to my body, upon learning about what had happened when I was a child, because I was vaccinated, I was born in 1984. Thank God I was pre-1986 where I didn't get everything. I haven't been vaccinated I haven't had a vaccine since I was maybe 3, 4, 5 years old. So at this point, I'd consider myself non-vaccinated. I'm going to be 37 in a couple months. So anything that I had is long gone out of my body. But the metal toxicities were still something we were dealing with. So the first thing was, okay, metal toxins, where did they come from? So now as I start opening up my eyes to the ways that we're exposed to them and how many of them came back to vaccines, they were on my radar. Still wasn't super sure, but starting to get this inclination that something's not right. So at the entry point of my clinical education, my first dog that as an adult that I got on my own, time comes that, you got to do the doctor thing and the shot thing and the this and that thing. But I'm just starting to learn about this stuff. So I go into the vet and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And they gave me the exact thing that I now hear parents tell me. Well, if your dog gets parvo, it's a death sentence. And here where I live in Niagara County had a big outbreak last year. And, immediately with the fear and the propaganda tactics. So I agreed to it. Within a 2-week period, the incubation period of parvo had overtaken my dog's entire face. I had a pug, the cute little snort nose. The entire flap of his face had exploded out farther than his lips or farther than his snout, and it was packed. Jason, I've never in my life seen this until this, never seen it in any day. Purple mucus. It was purple throughout his face. I take him back. Through the ethics of this vet tech, she actually admitted to me that it was a vaccine reaction. So now I'm aware metal toxins are bad. I didn't really want to do this to my dog. I witnessed a vaccine reaction and I had it admitted to me. So now my sensors are really going off. Not long after that is when the tragedy of all of this really came to be, or the culmination of it, in that a mother had brought me her twin children with some neurological issues. She didn't know what caused it. She didn't know what this diagnosis was. She just knew something wasn't right with her children. Now, we don't treat or diagnose, but we did find metal toxicity in the body. So just like this mother, she goes, man, metal, where'd this come from? So make a long story short, not long after this meeting, her children were diagnosed autistic. And me and her really entered this rabbit hole together of exploring and exploiting what happened to her children. And mom said before that MMR vaccine, she had 2 healthy, beautiful twin boy and a girl. And it was after that 18-month MMR vaccine is when everything started to change. So as we started to connect the dots, we really realized what we were looking at. So obviously these things are very abundant today, unfortunately, and they're out there. But it was my clinical education that showed me about metal toxicity that opened my eyes. It was the adverse reaction and the admitting of a vet tech that caused the vaccine reaction to my dog. And then this mother whose heart, and in the moment of her coming to me, I'll never forget. I'll never forget even more of the upside of as we started to detoxify the metals. Her kids were so autistic early on, they were you couldn't touch them. By their 5th birthday, I'll never forget this mother crying her eyes out to me in tears of joy to say for the first time in her children's lives, they sat on Santa's lap because we had moved so much of the sensory processing issues apart. They could talk, you could hold them, they could read, they could write. So just having watched where these children were to where they were to where they are, it fueled everything about I need to know as much as I can about the topic. I need to know what these things do, what they don't do, why they're pushed, why they're said to be so good and effective. And then just from there, the roof got blown off what I know about vaccines now. And as you said, it's probably the biggest passion that I have because we can choose to eat different foods. We can choose to watch programs or not. We can choose to go to stores or not. But under the principles of which things are operating now, you can't send your children to school unless they're vaccinated. That is criminal. That is a violation of the Constitution and our God-given freedom. So it's just so many things that we've been trying to prevent by making people aware of the control that the pharmaceutical and the governments had, that all culminate to me back on the vaccines, because that is the ultimate system of control. You get that level of poison in the body, this never comprehends right, wrong, good, bad, common sense, or logic. So we've got to keep those poisons out of children.
How has your fieriness of this subject affected talking to the moms, talking to the parents, and honestly, social media, because you're out there too? What have you gotten on? What have you gotten kickback? Have you gotten anything back on this? Because and now you're on the radio talking about it, man. Like you're not just like local. Like it actually, it's a New York radio station. Like what are you getting coming back?
So I think that, early on I had got a lot, oh, what do you know? You're not a doctor, a lot of the naysayers in the beginning, but that's why I think it's important to stay steadfast in your position. So really, Jason, at this point, and you'll understand this, and hopefully some of our audience does, my intention, my purpose, my thoughts are so strong that I really don't get a lot back. If anything, I get more of the parents that say, Jimmy, can you give me like a vaccine 101 guide so I know how to talk to my pediatrician or what I can and cannot do? So if anything, I try to approach it by never going after the parent, right? Nobody that's ever given their child a vaccine did something wrong. They did it because they felt they were making the best choice for themselves or their family based off the information of, well, why would the doctor give me anything that wasn't the truth? Why would the pediatrician give me anything but the truth? So you have to understand that what they're doing is coming from the good of their heart, but the thoughts of what their minds are being given is not the reality of the truth. So yes, we present it sometimes aggressively, but that's me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm raw truth and emotion 24/7. But I find that because we've beat that drum so many times, at least more and more are raising the eyebrow and they're starting to investigate more. They're starting to think more. But that's why people like me and you make so much noise, because what I find, Jason, is even when they see the light, they're left feeling hopeless, because then at this point, it's like their children are in school, their friends are all there. So the social movement of taking them away from an environment is very challenging. And I hate to say, but like, I get it. I understand it. So I can't get mad at them. So it's just a point of, listen, I got to give you as much information as I can that you're willing to receive. And at least you have then the ability to make the best decision possible for you and your family. But that's why we got to try to fight the government and the corrupt pharmaceutical industry, because these good parents that I think want to just send their kids to school and play with their friends and play sports and do all these things, they can't unless they're vaccinated. And that's why for me, it's such a hot topic, because every other aspect of drugs, poisons, and other BS that goes on out there, you at least have a choice. This is a choice that they're taking away, and it has catastrophic effects on the back end of it.
Totally. What did you think when you found out the first time that vaccine manufacturers are basically untouchable from the damage?
Oh, aside from the simple answer of that it's disgusting, I think that's where the common sense side of it should kick in, right? So if you don't understand the body like we do, and people that understand it even more, at least you could say, okay, now wait a second. If my wife had high blood pressure and they put her on meds and the result ended up that she died, well, I could hold the doctor, the hospital, the blood pressure medication liable for something. Nothing would ever give me back my wife, but somebody would have some level of responsibility. But then you look at vaccines, like you said, and it's like, wait a second. You've never tested them for cancer, autoimmunity, impaired fertility. You've never tested them synergistically as a combined effect. You don't know the totality of what they do, or you do know, you just don't admit it. And you expect people to just jump on these things and accept them because on the back end, nothing could ever happen to them. So that's for me when common sense kicks in, you go, wait a second. If you get to manufacture the vaccine and you also have so much money that you can pay some, pardon my French, jackass doctor to co-author the study that says that they're safe and effective, and then you can push and incentivize the pediatricians, because we could break down and exploit what criminals they are, the fact that they got to maintain 68% vaccination rate amongst their practice in order to receive their $80,000 a year bonus. But, that wouldn't have anything to do with it. So they can make it, they can pay the author of the study, they can push it to doctors and insurance companies for high financial reimbursement, all while if your child should end up with a mild or severe adverse reaction, there is nothing you can do. But you can go after people like me and you who pay taxes, and our tax dollars fund the vaccine compensation court. So the companies that make billions to trillions of dollars don't even have to compensate you for the injury or the death of your child. We, the taxpayers, do. So for me, common sense says, wait a second. Something's very wrong with that scenario there. There's no way the same person that makes something can author a study on it, not have any liability to it while profiting from it. That to me is a racketeer. That's a monopoly of all sorts, and that's a criminal act right there.
That is called the Fourth Reich, my friend.
Yes, sir.
They literally, and I laugh not because I think it's humorous. I'm just, as many people know me, and now they get to know Jimmy, we are so far past completely ludicrous in this country that unfortunately we sometimes have to laugh about it because it's completely insane. They threw logic out a long time ago. It's a criminal enterprise. It is, and then we go, okay, well, we have the FDA, we have the CDC, we have all these different alphabet name companies, and we know that, oh, that's right, they're in on it.
That's right.
This literally is the Fourth Reich. They didn't exactly lose World War II. They just came over here, and instead of putting you in a train car and gassing you, well, we have social media now, so we wouldn't get away with that because we would know about it and it'd be a problem. So instead, we'll slowly do it with vaccines, with chemo, with medications, with all this other stuff. And not only that, we'll get them to pay for it. We are paying for that, man.
That's right. It's criminal. It's unbelievable how the powers of the airways can control and move people in that direction. But guys, I couldn't agree with him more. We are living a modern day Holocaust, and people say, oh, that's so offensive. How can you say that? But like Jason said, we live in a world where, thank God, here in the United States, we have the Second Amendment. So you were never going to get people in today's world agreeing to watching people get marched off to death. So instead, like a good chess player, I'm going to sell you an idea, make you feel that it creates health, but all the while I'm achieving everything that we want, and that is control, because we're going to poison the children at birth. We're going to set them up to become lifelong medical patients. My kid doesn't have asthma. They're fine. No, but they've had their tonsils and adenoids removed. They've got asthma. They're on 15 rescue inhalers, and they're on Ritalin. They're funneling the whole pipeline. We say that we're the richest country in the world. We're the most technologically advanced country in the world. But we also have a medical system that leads the country in death. Our medical system kills more people than anything else in the United States. And we also vaccinate more than any other civilized nation in the world. That is not a coincidence.
100%. Now, dude, I know you have a great video out there, so I'm going to get you to repeat it a little bit for me. But
which one?
Are we coming up to flu season right now?
Yeah, man. Jeez.
Tell me about flu season.
So yeah, we did. I made a video maybe 3 or 4 years ago now that's pushing close to 50,000 views. It's pretty impressive. But I went on a tangent a couple years back about flu season. So perfect time, and let's open this up to people. Let's take again logic and common sense. What is the first part of that word? Flu season. A season is what? Football season, golf season, summer season, winter season. Seasons are planned events. They have a start date and an end date. So how somewhere did this pathogen called a virus figure out how to be a season? How did they figure out to show up somewhere around October and then disappear somewhere around May? Well, people like me and you could exploit that real quickly. What is flu season? Flu season is a combination of a couple things. One, especially with where I live in the Northeast, we're going to start to get colder and darker sooner. Therefore, we lose our natural vitamin D uptake. Oh, which, by the way, did you hear Dr. Fauci recently say, vitamin D and vitamin C? Get the hell out of here, you fake. Now you want to talk about it? Drive me crazy. Anyways, vitamin D is so crucially and critically important for the immune system. So us Northeasterners, we start to lose our natural vitamin D uptake. That's strike one. Immune system goes down. And then what transpires from October to February? Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Valentine's Day. And in the midst of all that, there's Girl Scout cookies. So for 7 months continuously, we are bombarded with the idea of tradition and holidays that are fun and enjoyable. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but the world that we lived in has turned it into a societal cramming of poisons down the throats of people, compiled with not getting vitamin D. You just set the table for destroying your immune system. We know, right, Jason? 1 serving of sugar can disable your immune cells for 24 hours. You're doing this now over 7 months with no sunlight on top of everything else that we're eating on a daily basis. And we wonder why kids and people are so sick, because we're not permitting them to understand it's the lack of vitamin D and it's the high quantity of refined carbohydrates and sugars that destroyed the immune system.
100%, dude. So you're not getting your flu vaccine?
I mean, if you come pick me up, we'll go together.
So I have a question from a dad standpoint, okay?
Yes, sir.
Here's the dad question. And now I got to invoke Jimmy and the emotion of Jimmy and get him really fired up. He's already fired up, but I want to fire him up more. I'm a dad, okay, of a girl. And I am very thankful that, one, I married my wife who was already in this world before I was in natural health, but that had this information before we had our child. And so we were able to bring her into this world at home, non-medicated, non-vaccinated, like, a real healthy individual. Dude, you're going into one of the greatest times of your life, having your first child, and before going in, like, you have that gift before going into it, knowing exactly how this is supposed to play out, and knowing exactly how God intended, how that little girl is supposed to be born, and then afterwards, how that little girl's immune system is supposed to work with your wife. What does it feel like? And give me your thoughts on being in that position right now, because obviously we didn't know about this stuff a long time ago, and now you do, and you get to avoid that train wreck.
I think that, amongst all things, God's timing is impeccable. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything happens for a reason, as it's supposed to. So as much as my wife and I had battled some infertility issues the first 4 years, 5 years of our marriage, and a lot of heartache and sad ache about that, I truly believed it was God's continuous preparation for our knowledge, our understandings of both our bodies, our rights, and our environment, for how it was that we were going to lead by example, bringing our daughter into this world. And one of the things that excites me is also one of the things that I think kind of will break my heart. And my wife has always said this to me, Jimmy, it's only a matter of time before we get older and people start to have no choice but to take notice to how good our bodies perform and how well we're still doing things and how easy things still are to us. So it's at that moment when somebody's going to say, man, this guy was telling the truth about a lot of things. He was right. And that's really what I envision with my daughter. I envision just leading by example and showing people that this child will never, ever be vaccinated. As long as there's not an emergency, she will be a vaginal birth. She will not have any eye ointment anywhere ever be brought near her. She will never, ever be put on an antibiotic. I know too much about the human body and our microbiomes to ever do that. So to say that this child will be brought in a natural birth without drugs, without medications, my wife's fully anticipating no epidural. We are going to do this as bare and natural as possible. And I think that just by leading by example, when my daughter doesn't have chronic ear infections, when she doesn't have her tonsils and adenoids removed, when she doesn't have asthma, when she doesn't have eczema, when she doesn't have ADHD, when she doesn't have learning disabilities and sensory processing issues, that we are going to be able to fully put on display the power of God's design in the human body with the right ingredients. So I'm excited about it, but I'm also, a little sad that I hope that's not what it takes for people to see the power of our bodies and what we were supposed to do.
100%. Now, the human immune system, because that little girl is going to come out, and I'm assuming Tara is going to do what Tara intends to do, and she wants to take care of her, breastfeed her, all those good things.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see the wonder of creation, the wonder of the human body. Take us into the human immune system from birth to what we know now, because you and I live in a very different world. We live in a world, and Jimmy and I do the same work nutritionally. You do. We know that if you give it the building blocks it needs, and obviously don't put up the barriers, which are the toxicities, that little girl is going to grow and actually become a like supercharged individual.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know about the human immune system, like take us through that and what you plan on doing from a food standpoint, from a care standpoint, all that good stuff.
So it really starts right where we're at. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky that my wife is as equally strong-minded as I am. We have the exact same views on things. She might not be quite as loud as I am, but you know, the child's immune system started the day we conceived her. And I don't want to say this offensively, so please nobody take offense to this, but the 9 months of pregnancy is not 9 months of your time in a free-for-all to eat whatever you want. It is not. I am sorry, ladies. Those 9 months are arguably the most crucial 9 months of your entire lives because you are growing and developing a child. So I'm so blessed. I'm so thankful that my wife knows what she knows and she lives her life like she lives, because this woman only eats whole food, organic food. She doesn't eat, drink, or put anything on, in, or near her body. She's walking around every day because she still works in the medical field. She's an orthopedic PA. She's got her EMF baby belly band that protects the baby. So when she's at work, and not that she's in the x-ray room, but just being under the LED lights and around the Wi-Fi and the computer. So it all starts with, what is mom eating for 9 months? So I'm very lucky with that. Mom's going to do a great job with her diet. I got no worry about that. But then the entry point of the microbiome is so crucial at the birthing process. So yes, we understand emergencies happen. Yes, we understand unforeseen circumstances where a cesarean might be a necessity and a life-saving event. And thank God for the medical system and the ability to do that in the appropriate moment. But we need to be teaching young mothers out there just how powerful the microbiome is. So real quick, what is the microbiome? Men and women alike, we have a microbiome on the surface of the skin and throughout the digestive tract, up through our sinus cavities, our ears. A microbiome is all over the outside and the inside of the body. But women, you also have a special microbiome in the vaginal canal. So when you give birth to your child, all of that goo and yuck and gunk and stuff like that, that is the baby's force field. So imagine having an understanding of how important that God-given creation is with the mother's microbiome on the baby, and we immediately wipe that off and stick antibiotics on them. So you've already started to destroy the immune system by, one, having an elective cesarean, and two, allowing them to wipe off the beauty that is the microbiome of your child and then put antibiotics in them. So you've got to avoid that component there. But now, in order to create, because Jimmy, what happens if we had to have a C-section? We now have to reseed the body. And even if we didn't and we have a good microbiome, we can't ever stop working at it. So now we have to entertain things like prebiotics and probiotics to build up the microbiome. The microbiome is compiled of trillions and trillions and trillions of microbes. What are microbes? Bacteria, fungi, virus. So this whole idea that viruses are a problem is just maddening, because we are 10 times more bacteria and virus than we are our own human cells. In addition to the microbiome, Jason, what could we tell them about? We have a virome. You have 380 trillion viruses that live on and in your body every moment of your life. But the balance of good microbes and bad microbes dictate everything about you. They dictate your immune system. They dictate whether you lose or gain weight. They dictate your mental capacity. They dictate how you view the world. Everything is based upon the status of the microbiome. That starts right at birth with what mom was eating, how mom gave birth to the child. Then was the child formula fed or breastfed? These are paramount. So we always have to be doing things to build up the microbiome. But we live in a society that is predicated on the idea of destroying it because we push white flour, white sugar, and processed carbohydrates, which will completely dismantle the microbiome. And that's actually what becomes the only segue to where a virus can ever be a problem in the human body. Only way. And everything that I'm saying, Jason, you know about this isn't no news. The Human Genome Project fully exploited all the information that I'm giving you. This is not some guy's opinion wearing a hat and a t-shirt. This was actually data that was proven with the Human Genome Project that everything stems from the microbiome.
Beautifully said. Dude, that is like, that was actually better than most doctors could ever say it. That, like, how much do you study? I like seriously, because this is what I think is that people don't understand out there, and I'm not trying to brag by any means, but they have the medical system out there, which I personally believe the medical system is designed for emergencies, and they're phenomenal at doing this, right?
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
If someone needs some sort of life-saving medication over time, great, that's fine. We can use it for that. But the problem is this thing called research and education post when you're done, because I don't know about you, but I didn't get paid by my school. It wasn't part of the student loan package to learn everything I've learned for the last, I don't even know how many years. Like, how much do you feed your mind?
I mean, it has to be continuous, right? If you're not expanding, you're dying. And that could be in life, that could be in business, and it darn sure is in your intelligence. So it's just a continued mindset of, I don't know everything there is to know. I feel good about the things that I do know, but you always have to be looking and in search of what don't I know, so I can continue to form good opinions and thoughts to take actions on things. So, this is just the culmination of, 10 years of just continuing to read and research. And really it's following a lot of people like you. The doctor title, speaking in a different manner, is very attention grabbing. So you start just paying attention to different people. And when you start learning these things, it just becomes infectious. So it's, what can I read? What can I learn more? And just keep evolving from there.
The more you talk about the strength of the human frame, the human immune system, but then the weakness of the human frame and human immune system, it literally goes back to what we first started, which was the weak American versus the strong American. And I truly do believe we're at the largest turning point, and at least we know our human history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there might have been there's other turning points way back, but you and I are alive for this pivot in life.
Yes, we
Whatever happens over the next 3 months to roughly probably 6 months, as this whole window collapses on November 3rd. What do you see going forward as the weak Americans and the strong Americans? Like, you just take us down some road you want to go down with that.
I mean, I think that in the battle of good versus evil, the thankfulness of those that walk on the side that we do, we're never going to lay down. So I think that the scariest thing is that we come to a second civil war, because if somebody ever thinks they're showing up at my house to vaccinate me or my daughter, I answer the door in a very different manner than I ever would under any other circumstances. So I think that if we ever got to the unfortunate pivot point of really good versus evil, then we may see the second coming of the Civil War. But I hope that we don't get to that point, because in part, that's why you've got me here, brother. I am a strong Christian man with good faith, but I do not believe that we are at end times. I just don't believe that in my heart. I believe in my prayers. I believe in my relationship with Jesus, that the blessing of him bringing my daughter, the blessing of the success of my business and where we are going and what we are achieving. I believe exactly what you said, Jason. God put me here. He put people like you here for this exact moment in time. And I just don't feel that we are coming to an end. So what I believe in my heart is something like the Q movement has to be real. It has to be. And if, like you said, I'd rather put my faith and my trust into the good that says we're going to exploit the criminality that is the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. We're going to exploit the criminality that is the political world. We're going to definitely exploit the criminality that is pedophilia. And at some point, the light has to win. God has to win. And I don't think that the weakness of people will be what wins this. I think it will be our strength. Our light will overshadow all of the darkness. And it may be a hard reality to pull people up and out of the mud, but people like you and I with big shoulders, we got the task at hand, and we'll pull up as many people as we can. If we can get their eyes, ears, and hearts, we can change them to be strong just like us.
What do you see for the next several years as you raise a little girl and with this world? What do you want to see this world look like, man?
I mean, it's never going to be rainbows and butterflies, but I guess if I was the leader of the free world, I would just advocate for that, the freedom of choice. As long as the freedom of choice doesn't impinge on somebody's free will, as long as the freedom of choice doesn't impinge on things of illegal or illicit nature, meaning if a man and a man want to get married, well, then I say, God bless you. That's not my position to be anything different. If a woman and a woman want to get married, God bless you. If you want to become transgender or you are, God bless you. That's your choice. If you made decisions, if you did things, but where I draw the line is when it becomes unethical. So things like pedophilia should never be accepted. Vaccination should never be accepted. GMOs should never be accepted. If you want to smoke, smoke, but know that smoking can kill you. If you want to drink, drink, but know drinking can kill you. If you want to vaccinate, vaccinate, but know that it can kill you. So I would just like to put liability back to where it belongs. I would like to put the choice back in the individual and allow people to make decisions that are best suited for them, not based off the recommendations of the government or corrupt politicians and doctors in the pharmaceutical industry. So that would be my biggest hope, is just that free will and free choice can be fully restored. As long as you're not doing harm, as long as you're not doing ill will or something illegal or illicit to another individual, then I got no knock on what you want to do. If you want to get drunk every day and live on the street, that's your prerogative. God bless you. But I don't think I should have to pay for your choices. If you want to strap up your bootstraps and become a billionaire, making it in an ethical manner, then God bless you. Let's go do that. So that would be my biggest hope, is just that free will, the one thing God will never change is your free will. That's the one thing I wish we had in this life, is free will to do what you want, when you want, as long as it doesn't infringe on what is right, what is ethical, and another human being's choice.
Nicely said. I love that. Now, I have to ask a question while she's watching, because I know she's watching, unless she went to sleep because she needs a rest. So I found out via your wife, I think, texting me, which was that I think we went to school at the same time in up in New York. Tara, so I went to school with her, didn't even know it. And then we've met a couple times. Like, do me a favor, brag on your wife a little bit, because your wife literally went from a very medical paradigm to she's like a 180-degree different woman now. She's an amazing individual. Do me a favor, brag on her for a little bit.
Yeah, I actually gave a testimony at my wedding. Not often does the groom speak up and speak at their own wedding, but in the summation of it, I gave a testimony to. I always told my mother that, my mom was getting worried as I was getting later in my 20s. Jimmy, you need to get married. An old Italian mother. I need a grandbaby. And I'm like, Ma, I said, I'm not settling for anything less than perfect. And I know that sounds chauvinistic and cocky, but I said, I'm never going to settle for anything less than perfect, because anybody who falls short of perfect will be really easy to let go of and essentially know that's not my choice. So for her, really, she was my perfect. She's absolutely everything about what I wanted, what I needed, and what I was going to accept in a partner. And like I said, that original conversation of I'll never vaccinate my children, and it was her morals, her ethics, and her common sense that showed me this woman could be free thinking. She could make her own decisions regardless of her collegiate education. And it was really my wife who fueled a lot of this, because she exploited and showed me the corruption of the pharmaceutical industries, how they own the curriculums at the collegiate institution. They control the curriculum. They control the research. They control what is taught. So you're absolutely correct. My wife has 2 master's degrees. She did her undergraduate work at Cortland, where she was at school with you. She came up here to West New York. She did her PA degree. She graduated top of her class. One of the first jobs that she had was with the Buffalo Bills. And that was what really changed her mind. Her first gig showed her prescribe, inject, because she was working with professional athletes. And, talk about real pieces of meat. Those guys are treated just as that. They're pawns on the board. Let's make sure we can get them out there. Who cares if what we're doing is good for them? But anyways, that was where her ethics kicked in. She goes, I didn't get into medicine to be a pill pusher and a pain injector. So she ran as far as she could from doing those things. And at least, like you said, I feel that she's in an ethical arena in the medical field. She works as an orthopedic PA. If you break your leg, go see her. If you dislocate your elbow, or go see her. If you tear your Achilles, you go see her. So, and at least in her arena, we have an ethical medical entity But that's where it started for me, just knowing where she came from to where she was willing to go on her own knowledge was one of the drawing and most sexy things to me, because, you know, beauty is skin deep and sexuality is really skin deep. It's where's that level of connection, and the fact that her mind let her do those things, that was hook, line, and sinker for me.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
I just thought of something completely random that I have to ask you about because I found this fascinating, which was so the other day I am listening to a podcast and it's Joe Rogan, and this is completely off topic, by the way. This is like totally different lane. But I just when I looked at you, I'm like, oh, I got to tell him about this, and we'll do it on camera because it's gonna fire up the human frame thing again.
All
But
right.
there's this guy, Jim, I think Jim Nestor. I'll have to look up if that's his name. He was on Rogan, and he says, "Hey, I figured something out," and I'm listening, and it was about human frame and like cavemen and stuff like that. So I was like, "Oh, it's regarding nutrition and historically what's happened to the body." And he goes, "I figured something out. We studied these frames. We found out that the jawline was narrowing and teeth were going crooked, and we figured out like." And he's acting like he's the first one to figure it out. We're figuring out that it's due to industrialization in the modern diet. Dude. So
Stop it.
So he's this
right now.
sciencey PhD guy. I have not dove down into this rabbit hole and found out who he was yet. But I'm like, wait a second. Is he stealing Weston A. Price's data?
Jeez. Weston A. Price proved that. Francis Pottinger proved that. Melvin Page. I mean, how far could we go back? Way to get out of the Stone Age. You're not telling us nothing we haven't known. Price proved that how long ago?
So the human frame has narrowed, and they're just finding out in 2020, even though I have a book back here by Weston A. Price, which is the Bible of nutrition, essentially, saying exactly the same thing. When he did it, 100, 200 years ago, whatever it was. I mean, like, this is insane. And this is the stuff you and I see every day in practice. But guess what, Jimmy? Some PhD in some academic institution has decided they found it, and they're going to now, do their thing.
Well, I'm glad that they're ready to come to the party, but they can defer to us experts, and we'll be very happy to teach people about the truth of the human body. So I'm glad that they've come around with a little bit of common sense, but let your PhD title and the amateurs that just found out this truth stick on the sidelines. We'll take it from here. Thanks, boys.
Dude, so do me a favor. I want everyone to know where you are, because there's people in New York that follow me, and I want them to know what you do and how you can help them and be the awesome person you are. So give us your details.
So my Facebook is Synergy Nutrition and Wellness. Our website is 716synergy.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're on all those platforms. Synergy Nutrition and Wellness website, 716synergy.com. My main office, if you're in the Western New York area, is in North Tonawanda, New York. My new office is in Clarence, New York. You can get us on the phone at 716-264-4248. And you can email us at frontdesk@716synergy.com. Or you can drop me directly at jimmy@716synergy.com. So we're all out there. We're everywhere. And we're going to keep taking over our corner of the community until I meet you in the middle of the country and we overtake all of it.
I love it. What are the things you see on a daily basis? What do you help with? Because Jimmy, last time I heard, the medical world was still telling us that none of these diseases, you're not capable of coming back from them. All these fibromyalgias and these autoimmune disorders, like, you have it for life.
So first and foremost, we don't treat or diagnose, so only the medical system does that. But rather, what I like to preach to people is everything in the physical universe is cause and effect. And I'm saying this to you exactly how I'd say it in real life practice. I don't care if you got cancer, autism, autoimmunity, Crohn's disease, IBS, infertility, sinus issues. I've seen it all. I've handled all of it. And I've got success stories and video documented evidence to show rheumatoid arthritis, no more. Hashimoto's, no more. Nonverbal sensory processing issue, autistic children, talking, walking, speaking, drawing, doing all these things. You name it, I got it, Jason. So we see everything under the sun, but we don't treat or diagnose them. We kind of get the people that have been drugged through the mud and the medical system sending them to 17 different specialists and 35 medications later. They finally get to their last leg of hope. They find us, and I just breathe life into them and tell them, from this moment forward, your life will change because your body was designed to heal every 90 to 120 days, every 3 to 4 months. You will create new cells. It's what you put on and in your body and the thoughts that you think over a 3 to 4 month period that become the reality that you are. So if you're willing to take a plunge, if you're willing to take a stand and make changes to not your diet, but your habits, your routine, and your lifestyle, I don't care what you're dealing with. If you give me your best effort, I will give you mine, and we will make miracles out of what the medical system doesn't happen. Truthfully, that's actually what I hear a lot, Jason. People come into me and they go, Jimmy, that's a miracle. Brother, I get mad. I tell you, I get mad. I don't want to hear that because only God works miracles. I do not. But what we do should be the expectation. When you walk through the door and you got rheumatoid arthritis and a year later you don't have it or you don't have the symptoms of it anymore and you're just thrilled. And I'm like, cool. That's what was supposed to happen. Your body was supposed to get better. So that's just, that's just that passion that I have. Your body was designed perfectly. Every 3 to 4 months, new cells will be made and created. It's what you do. It's what you put on and in your body that dictates what you become. And if you make a change, I don't care what bill of health you've been given, your body is so much better than anything as anyone's ever told you. You've heard my favorite saying, your body's ability to heal is greater than anyone has permitted you to believe, until you meet people like us. So we stand there to teach you what you're capable of. And by God, brother, especially being chiropractic, you're the only doctor that I really recognize, but that's my favorite right there. But the beauty of the autonomic nervous system is that God designed us with an innate intelligence. Innate intelligence. Your body was designed to do everything on its own. Your responsibility is to put the right things in it, and it will always perform the right way for you.
Well said. That's why you're on here. Dude, you rock.
It's my brother.
Best. I appreciate you more than you could ever know.
I so appreciate you, man.
And as soon as this ridiculousness is over in the U.S., I will be on a plane to New York, and we will catch up, and I got to come up and see that little girl.
For sure, man. For sure. We getting close to wrapping up?
We're getting close to wrapping up.
All right, let me drop one last thing for people because this is the last part of the microbiome they have to know.
Fire it up.
So, ladies and gentlemen, something that you really need to know, and again, this is something that was taught to me by an ethical MD. His name is Dr. Roby Mitchell, PhD, MD. This is one of the good guys. This is one of my mentors. This is one of my heroes. And it was him who taught me this. So I got to expand and teach it to you. In the process of how your microbiome works, understand this. Viruses have no anatomical parts. They don't have arms, legs, knives, teeth, guns. So if somebody sneezes on you or coughs a virus on you, it has no anatomical parts. How does it hurt you? 2, viruses produce zero toxic effect. Viruses do not contain toxins. So if a virus has no anatomical parts and a virus contains no toxins, then how does it hurt you? And this is why the masks and the social distancing and even, me, Jason, the hydrochloroquine and the vaccine is all bullshit, because this is how your body works. There is a microbe native to your large intestines called Candida. Candida is a single cell sessile organism in the large intestines, meaning if it stays there native to God's design, it is a scavenger. Its role is to take the feces that has made it past the small intestines and is waste product to be further decomposed and reabsorb the last little bits of nutrients. So when Candida does that, you have this massive vein that goes from your liver to your large intestines called your portal vein. When Candida breaks down the excess nutrients, it recycles them back up to the portal vein where it now gets into your liver so your body can reuptake those nutrients. That is a beautiful thing in God's design. But when we eat white flour, processed chemicals, sugars, etc., we feed and proliferate the growth of Candida. Well, now instead of being a single cell organism, Candida develops what's called a hyphae. It's like mold that's growing on bread. And when it gets to that state, it can mobilize. It then also hijacks the portal vein highway and gets up into the liver. Jason, tell these people what the liver stores. What gets stored in the liver more than anything?
What are you talking about?
Nutritionally, what does the body store in the liver? What substance does the liver, what substance does your body send back to the liver?
Are you talking about cholesterol?
How does cholesterol made? What makes cholesterol?
Tell me, what are you looking for?
Sugar.
Oh, well, dude, glycogen, yes.
The glycogen, your liver is just packed with glycogen. So
This
why
is
is
what
that?
but dude, and this is why you caught me off guard, because people don't know that. Like this
I
is
got you.
like,
I got you. I got to make sure you still got attention at 10:30 at night.
do you know why? Because someone actually brought this up to me the other day, and it was actually somebody who should have known healthcare, and I had to bring up glycogen, dude, and their testosterone, their hormones are literally zero.
Mm-hmm.
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And they were never told by the medical profession that sugar had anything to do with the liver or there was glycogen stored
That's right.
there.
It's crazy, right? So now this liver that stores all the excess sugar that is glycogen in the body, when candida jacks the portal vein and it gets into the liver where all of this stored glycogen is, now it's like a kid in a candy store, literally. The favorite food source of candida is sugar. So once candida gets into the liver and the powerhouse of all of the stored glycogen, now it can spread like wildfire and get out to the body. The problem now becomes that candida produces a toxin. Candida produces what is called gliotoxins. When gliotoxins set up shop in a part of your body, it destroys your T cells and your macrophages. Your T cells and your macrophages are hand-to-hand combat soldiers, meaning your T cells and your macrophages only fight the bad guys. They recognize what is bad and what is good. When you have good T cells and macrophages, you're like me and Jason. We're never sick. We never miss a day's work. We're not superhuman, but we stay asymptomatic because our T cells and our macrophages work. So if your T cells and macrophages get disabled by candida from eating too much sugar, your body must go to its last line of defense. It calls the Air Force up. Cytokines. Cytokines drop bombs. They're indiscriminate. They don't know human cell from pathogen. So it's the cytokines that become an issue. When people get ARDS and multiple system failure shutdown, it is not from a virus. It is from candida that destroyed T cells and macrophages that caused your immune system to release cytokines on the virus. That is the only physiological, pathological way a virus can ever hurt you. Why is somebody like me not on national TV telling you the truth? Or Jason? Because if we were, we would have brought the house of cards down. It's game over if the public was able to be understood what we just said right there. What I just told you and what I preach about vaccines, I've put $10,000 on the table, $10,000 to the first person to get on camera with me and prove, one, vaccines to be safe and effective if they don't cause cancer, autoimmunity, or impaired fertility. If you can prove that to me on camera, I'll give you $10,000 cash. And if what I just said about the immune system isn't the end all, say all, black and white of the immune system, $10,000 to the person who can get on camera with me, debate this, and prove me to be a liar. I've been waiting 3 years and nobody's taken me up on it yet.
So what I have to do next time is I have to carry him to 10:35, and then he launches. Dude, so in all seriousness, do you realize, and I know you do, but I'm making this point. First of all, how many people out there in this feed right now, and we've had thousands plus watching this, how many people out there have healthcare practitioners and doctors that talk like we do, speak like we do, act like we do, rant like we do, educate like we do? This is what America has been missing for the last 100 years as medicine stole their lives. First of all. Second of all, you find me more than a couple medical doctors, and there's a few out there who know what they're talking about, or anybody else in the medical profession, I should say, that could ever break down what you just said, because they can't.
They can't. They either don't know or they don't care. Both is a problem, though.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's what I want to get across the point to people is, for what you just stated, which is knowledge in our world, and then people still have to educate themselves on the knowledge because not everyone understands that. 99.9% of the medical profession would have no idea what you just said.
None.
And
Zero.
instead, they'll medicate you.
Yep. Yes, sir. And that's why it's the hypocrisy of the system. That's why we do what we do. And we fight for people to know what we know, because what I just said, I'm not special. I'm nobody on the cutting edge. I'm just somebody willing to speak the truth as loud as possible to as many people as I can.
Dude, I love you for it.
Love you, brother.
I love you as a human first, but then I love you for what you do.
My man. Likewise.
And I will see you next year when this mask bullshit is over.
Well, I'm, you know me, brother. I don't put life on hold. So I'm going to be flying down to Texas to be with Dr. Roby next month to open up his new office. And I'm coming down to Clearwater for a vacation sometime in the month of November. So when I make it to Florida, I'll let you know exactly what dates we'll maybe rendezvous in November for a dinner.
You tell me the date, I will drive down.
My man. Actually, I might be coming to Orlando. I'm coming to meet my social media guy. I'm going to come to Orlando. When I'm in Orlando, I'm going to look you up.
You just let me know. I'll be there.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. I love you. Be well.
Love you.
Take care of that lovely wife of yours, and take care of that growing baby.
Thank you, my brother. May God bless you with good health and good freedom in what you're doing. You're an amazing human being. The platform that you've created is great. People don't understand, or maybe they do, the blessing that is you and the work that you're doing. So, my brother, may the glory of God and the joy of health and happiness forever be upon you and those that seek out people like you and I.
Much appreciated. This is Revolution Network. I am Dr. Jason Dean. That was Jimmy Scaringi. Go check him out, because he's going to blow your mind, and he's doing God's work. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care of yourself. And as always, go out and serve and help someone tomorrow. Be well.